Please Allah, a chance to gain reward I will spend on you, he says, on all who spend in good cause. Good deeds are opportunities, sparkling bright and true, raising you in the sight of Allah and adorning Al-Jannah for you. So rush to earn his reward, don't forget the oppressed, and when you go to sleep at night.
Bismillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'a sunnatahu ila yawmiddin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome again to another episode of your weekly Islamic chat show, coming to you live here on Huda TV from Dubai Media City. And I'm your host Ismail Bullock, and actually today my co-host, should I say, brother Gabriel Al-Romaani, is running late. It's one of those, as I said, there's always going to be some live, with the live show, some kind of hiccup. One time, if you remember, I took a diversion, drove halfway around the UAE, came in the middle of the show, had my guest doing the whole show by himself, as Brother Gabriel had travelled. So it's one of those days, alhamdulillah. And inshallah, Brother Gabriel should be with us by the second part of the show. But with me today, I have Brother Muhammad Banu. Assalamu alaikum, brother. And of course, you're here as the guest, mashallah. Yeah. But today you'll be stepping in early as inshallah. A guest / co-host. So you've been promoted already, mashallah.
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah.
So actually, before we talk about today's topic, which we're going to focus on Islamic knowledge / education.
Yeah.
A bit about yourself. Where you're from? What do you do? What's your background? Because obviously you're new to the show, so we always like to introduce our guests.
My name is Muhammad Banu. I originally from Somalia. I came from Canada. Came to visit the UAE to see the brothers and opportunities in here. I studied in Lebanon and Egypt, Islamic studies and Arabic. And I used to have an Islamic center in Egypt. I used to run it and teach Arabic for expats, people from the West.
Okay, so for example, I'm not really familiar with the centers. I went one time for Egypt to do something similar to this, some TV filming, but I know there's well-known centers like Al-Fajr. Was this something like this?
Yes, well, we used to deal with Al-Fajr. It's called the Ar-Rashad Center.
Okay.
And usually for Western people who want to learn Islam, Arabic, anything has to do with Islamic knowledge.
Okay, so what kind of, since it's relevant to our topic, before we go into the topic, what your center, for example, is it still running there now in Egypt?
Yes, it's still running, yeah.
Okay.
It's for equip the student with primary level of knowledge and prepare him to pursue more knowledge in Islamic sciences like Aqidah, Fiqh, because before you go through this, knowledge is like an ocean. Before you start going through that ocean, you need to take baby steps.
You have to put the armbands on.
Exactly.
And doggy paddle.
Yes. So we teach them first Arabic level 0, 1, 2, 3 until 12. And while they're learning the Arabic also, we teach them Quran as much as the student can. Some people, mashallah, they go fast and because of the energy and the zeal they have. And some people, whatever Allah gives them the energy. After that, we make sure that the student gets a bit of Islamic knowledge, pure knowledge, not only Arabic and Quran. Also, we give them a bit of usul al-fiqh and fiqh, ibadat, tahara, daily Islamic things that he has to know in his deen.
Okay, so
etc.
The people, that's taught by yourself and other teachers, or?
Mostly Egyptian teachers who are specialized in specific fields, like Arabic, for example. Egyptians is the country of learning Arabic. They have the best universities in Arabic, and in terms of Quran also, Egyptians are known for that. In terms of Islamic knowledge, we would have to deliver in English or other languages if available, if we have speakers. So me, myself, and brother Zain, I think you know him from Australia. He used to work with us.
Yes. Johnson, I think. Right?
Yeah, he used to deliver. We used to have few guests from the West sometimes, Sheikh Muhammad and what. So we used to try that, so the student can learn Islam with his own language. At the same time, he's learning Arabic and he's learning, so he can go to the text. The next step would be, he would go by himself, research in the library. We have our own library, alhamdulillah. He would have to go, let's say he finished level 6, he would have to go to the library, look at the books of the scholars, yani small books, and then gradually he would go to the big books, inshallah.
And what, for example, what books, 'cause a lot of people often wonder, what's the best books to learn for Arabic? So what would you use?
Wallahi, we used to use this book from Saudi, used to come, Al-Arabiya Bayna Yadayk.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that
exactly.
one. Yeah.
There are 3 levels, and actually it's 3 books, and we divided. Yes, and we divided to 12 levels.
Okay.
Yeah, book 1 is 2 levels, book 2 is 4, book 3 is 4. So, and then after that, the student would have to learn Arabic literature, be able to write and be able to learn creative writing and enrich himself with the Arabic language.
So once somebody had advanced themselves in Arabic and they were able to understand, would they then go to any particular scholars, or that would be up to them to choose?
Well, we encourage students, because myself, I learned in Egypt. I went to the villages. That's the place you learn the halaqah, where you put your knees down and you sit under the scholars. You learn the humbleness and you learn the akhlaq and the adab with the ulama, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for you. As Allah said in the Quran, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ. The more piety you have and ikhlas, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you see the barakah of the ilm. So we teach the students, especially those ones that, as I said, who have zeal and to learn Islamic knowledge, who are really sincere, and they want to go to the West maybe to give da'wah, or work in Islamic centers, or work as imam, or whatever. They want to go maybe, they want to stay there forever. I've seen some people who, a brother came from Germany, now mashallah, he's writing books. He's a convert brother. He finished Al-Azhar. That's, you can go to the Islamic universities, you can go to the villages. Everything is open for you. As I said, this is equipping the student, giving him the tools that he can later on use it on his own.
MashaAllah. So, we've on the topic of obviously learning, today's topic about knowledge. So, knowledge is obviously very important in Islam. We know that there's so many ahadith. For example, the famous hadith that knowledge is a faridah upon every Muslim, is obligatory upon every Muslim.
Yes.
And we have a hadith that whoever takes that path to seeking knowledge, Sahallahu tariqan ila Jannah, that Allah will make a path easy to Jannah.
Yes.
So the fact that first of all, we're being told it's obligatory to seek knowledge, and foremost Islamic knowledge, of course. And then we're being told that whoever does, inshallah, seek this knowledge, Allah will make a path easy for him to Jannah. So, what more kind of encouragement do we need for that, really?
Yeah, actually the hadith, subhanAllah, that if you look at the books of Kitab al-Ilm, for example, in Bukhari and in Muslim, every scholar made a chapter in his book, scholars of hadith, talking about the hadith of the ilm. If you look at those ahadith, for example, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم, seeking knowledge is obligatory. This is actually farida more than anything else. As Imam Ahmad said, that we need ilm more than we need food. Then he said, because ilm saves you from hellfire, and ilm, you can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is your purpose of life. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. This is the purpose of life, and to know this catalog, why Allah created you, what Allah wants from you. You have to look in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to look in the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you have to look at the tradition of the Salaf and the scholars and the Sahaba radiallahu anhu, and Atba' Tabi'in, and generations and generations. Until now, we have current scholars, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah preserve them, that we still need to learn from their books. That's why subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's why in the hadith of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, narrated by Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan radiallahu anhu, says that man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fi din. Whoever Allah wants goodness for him, Allah will give him fiqh in the deen. Allah will give him understanding in the deen. Mafhum al-mukhalafa, we say it in Arabic, which is to the contrary of that. If you want to understand the hadith the other way, is that the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want good to him, Allah will deprive him from Islamic knowledge. That's why we see a lot of Muslims nowadays, they might be wealthy, they might be healthy, they might have all types of enjoyment in their dunya, but lacking Islamic knowledge, subhanAllah, you have deprived yourself and maybe your family also, because the son will follow his father and the girl will follow her mother. So if you deprive yourself from this knowledge, you had deprived it from your family, your house, your lineage, subhanAllah. We know some of the scholars, they have left tradition behind and their students, they learned it and they kept it. If you don't leave anything for your kids, you left for them money and house, and the only thing you didn't leave is the knowledge of Islam. So that means Islam for you is not a precious thing. It's the last thing, the tails of the important things, the last thing in the list. So that's why the hadith of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu summarizes everything. And if you want the khair of dunya, as the Prophet ﷺ said, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. He said this dua is the summarize of the all dua. If you make this dua, it's enough for you. So the same thing, this hadith summarizes all the ilm. If you want the khair of the dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you ilm of the fiqh.
You should remind me of something. It's slightly off the topic, but when you mentioned about being righteous or having knowledge, which obviously if you're having correct knowledge, it should also reflect on you being righteous, and that it can have effect on generations after. It reminds me of in Surah Al-Kahf where Khidr and Musa alayhi salam, and when they get to the wall with the kens, with the treasure chest or whatever you like to call it, and the Quran, the verse says that their fathers were righteous. And I was reading one time that the tafsir was saying that where it says their fathers, it's actually talking, the scholars have said this was actually reported that it was the fourth grandfather so because the fourth grandfathers were pious and righteous, Allah used that as a to
save the lineage.
That they got this
as
a kind of a result of the fact that their fathers, which was four generations removed, were righteous people. So that just kind of reminded me when you said us having this knowledge and this righteousness, it can have an effect obviously on the generations after us.
Exactly. And you see in every house, subhanallah, when the house is based on let's say if the father is a doctor and the mother is a doctor, most likely the kids will be 90% or 80% of them, they will follow the same path. Same wise, if we know that many of the scholars, they took the path of ilm because of their parents. Because we know Imam Ahmad radiallahu anhu, rahimahullah, his mother used to bring him to the masjid, Fajr Salah. And she used to sit outside, because the masjid is for men. Later on, generations after generation, women started following the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, praying at home. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they used to pray behind men, because Islam was new. So people are accepting Islam. Men and women, they need to learn Islam. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ said the best place for the woman to pray is at home, at her house. And for the man is obligatory for him, wajib for him to pray in jama'ah. So she would sit outside on the masjid, on the entrance of the masjid, and she would tell him to go inside and learn. And she would wait for him, and then she would take him back until he reached the age of 17 or 18. And then she told him, when he finished the ilm of Iraq, she told him to go to seek knowledge in Mecca and Medina, and the land of ilm. And then he told her, who's my rafiq, who's my friend or who will accompany me in this trip. Imagine a teenager going in that vast desert, trying to reach the Mecca and Medina to seek knowledge under the scholars in his time. So she told him, Allahu rafiquk, and she gave him a few loaves of bread, and she sent him, subhanallah. Imam Ahmad, subhanallah, he mentions this story, and it's a long story, And he mentions what happened to him in the road and how he got lost and how he had to work for some people sometimes until he reached his destination. That's why they called him Imam of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Yani getting those titles is not easy. And that's why they strive for this path. So his mother made sure that her son follows the path of his forefathers, and the tradition of the house is based on ilm. Same wise, if you are like drop out of school and the mother is like that, and you know the generation that comes after is going to be most likely the same. So that's why I would say, even if we have to teach our kids, what do you call it? They call it secular education, but I call it the formal education, or like whatever they study in school. We would need to teach them also Islamic sciences. We need to make them. They need to get the scholarship in this field too, because they need to carry the banner of Islam and Tawheed through the next generation.
And that's a good point, because we do have a problem now where the parents are focusing on, my son should be a doctor or an engineer or whatever case, and a lot of parents, they may do, mashallah, say to the children, pray, go to the mosque, but they're not really concerned about the children attending any proper Islamic lessons, even making the effort to take, when they go to lessons, maybe the father now and again, he takes his son with him. They're just more focused on the academic side, the dunya side of things. And you find that, okay, this guy's a doctor, for all these years he studied, but he still doesn't know how to make wudu properly. He doesn't, understand certain aspects, things that are actually, and we'll probably go into that after the break, but things that are obligatory for each and every Muslim to know, whatever the case, and they don't even know these things, because the parents are always focused on become a doctor, be an engineer. So there has to be that tawazun, that kind of balance where, of course, you can be a doctor, but at the same time, he has to know the more important parts of his religion,
Because the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, actually, and that's very dangerous. He said, رب الرجل يعبد الله 40 سنة ليس له من صلاته شيء. Perhaps a man worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 40 years, Allah will not accept anything from that salah. لماذا? Why? Because in the hadith continues, he said, لا يتم ركوعها وسجودها. He does not perfect it, the ruku' and the sujood and the salah. We know that we have to pray. The Rasul ﷺ said, صلوا كما رأيتموني أصلي. Pray as you've seen me praying. Same thing in the Hajj. خذوا عن مني شعائركم. In the Hajj, we have to take just like the خذوا مني مناسككم. Like the Prophet ﷺ. In the Siyam, in the everything in Islam, you cannot come up with your own thing.
That's right. Well, we'll just hold that point, because mashallah already it's time for the break. Stay tuned inshallah and join us after the break.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says.
فلا وربك لا يؤمنون حتى يحكموك فيما شجر بينهم ثم لا يجدوا في أنفسهم حرجا مما قضيت ويسلموا تسليما. There are 3 levels. Sister Rayhan from Bahrain.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. Fahim from Sweden. السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم Sheikh, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, barakallah feek Fahim. May Allah bless you and your family.
Sheikh, I have one question.
Now, that is not allowed. Why isn't allowed? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man ghasha falaysa minna." He who deceives or betrays does not belong to us. He's not one of us. A person who is given the sadaqah or leading the prayer does not have necessarily to be praying fard. Maybe he's praying the nafl that is after the prayer, the 2 sunnah after dhuhr or after maghrib or after isha. And the follower, the imam, will be praying with the intention of offering the fard that he has missed. Okay, barakallahu feek.
and welcome to Tech Talk. I'm your host, Omar Shear. This season of Tech Talk, we will focus specifically on the internet.
A student would type their paper, and instead of handing me a hard copy of their paper, they would upload it to this learning system, this e-learning system.
I have some great experience when it comes to technology, and in particular, internet technology. Call to action is something that we do in our day-to-day lives, and maybe we don't realize it. Now we want to discuss, after you have a product and you have a website and you have a way to communicate with your customers, which would be your email marketing system, now it's time to take the money from the customer.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says, on who's...
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back from the break. And mashallah, brother Gabriel Al-Romaani has finally arrived with a couple of speeding tickets. Apparently you breaking the law, very bad example. No, these things happen. Because
man, 2 kilometers, man.
Yeah, it's true. No, sometimes you don't even know where they are, and one road can be 100 kilometers, and then all of a sudden the speed limit is 70, and you didn't realise. But
I mean, if you speed, okay, if you speed, then you get it, you deserve, right? But like 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, like you're just not paying attention. You're at the border there.
I've had a few of those as well.
And that thing is so sensitive. Just I don't know. They should have some kind of a cushion, a bit more than what they have. So,
anyway, before mashallah. The break, we were speaking about mashallah, the importance of knowledge in general, and we mentioned as well with Brother Muhammad the emphasis on parents. They need to at least create that balance where they're not just focusing on being an engineer, and they may tell their parents, may tell their children go and pray, but then that's it. They don't actively encourage them or even take them to any other kind of Islamic lessons. So the boy is just told, you have to pray, go to the mosque, but there's no other kind of Islamic education being given to them in the form of at home, in the form of taking them with the parents to a lecture or something like this. So we're talking about how it's important to balance it. I mean, obviously you're in education.
Yeah. So,
I mean, you can probably shed some light on the importance of education and Islamic education from a teaching point of view.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Actually, the way we look at Islamic education today, that's the problem. Before, the mufti, the sheikh, the alim was like number one in society, right? Yes. People used to, like, these people are like the, go-to people, the VIPs of society, right? And when we look at today, they're, sometimes that people don't respect them, You find people are kind of like, especially in some areas of the world, they're kind of like, this guy's just like, Maulana, like it's even like derogatory sometimes. This guy's like mutawwa,
like a toilet cleaner or something.
Like, mutawwa, like just the body language of the way people say it, and it gives that negative connotation. Who mutawwa, this guy mutawwa, or Maulana, is Maul.
I remember, sorry to interrupt, but I remember that recently I went somewhere, and I went to a masjid which is part of within an organization or corporation. And as I walked in, there was a young guy who works in the reception, and he sees me going there, and he knows that I am indirectly employed there. It was basically it was for another TV station, and so he'd see me regularly going there, so he knows that I'm at least I'm a presenter for one of the shows there. Right. So you'd think there'd be a level of respect, just the fact that from a colleague's point of view, he's one of the part-time presenters, and. It was time as they walked in, he was literally like, "Oh look, it's Matawwa, he can do the prayer," kind of, in a mocking kind of way. Yeah. I was so close to, saying to the guy, like, who do you think you're talking to? Have some respect, I mean, not talking to in the sense of I'm anyone special, but as in, why would you say something like that? Make a joke like this guy's a Matawwa, the way it was it was like a demeaning way, So that whole point of you mentioning Matawwa just really. Kind of,
and not just that, people used to kind of congregate around them. I mean, we know that we were talking about Imam Ahmed.
Yes.
There was thousands of people attending his halaqat.
Yes.
Thousands, right? You're talking about, and people just storming around him to gain knowledge because they valued him so much. And some other scholars like Al-Izz Abdul Salam, and when he moved from certain city,
Egypt.
the whole city wanted to live with him, because
You reminded me, I believe it was Imam Barbahari, I could be mistaken, but someone of that likes that it was, I believe it was in Iraq, and he was in the masjid, and the Khalifa was in his castle, and he heard a loud noise, like lots of voices, and he said to his guy, his envoy, go out and see what's going on. He thought there was an attack or something, there was an army coming. And they said, and I believe it was Imam Barbahari, I could be mistaken. It was Barbahari, right? He sneezed. And all of his thousands of students said, Yarhamakullah, at the same time. And it was so loud, because of so many of the students, that it could be heard in the king's palace or the Khalifa's palace, and he thought it was some kind of call to war or something,
Yes.
Just showing you, like you're saying, how people used to respect people who would give knowledge. And even there are some places now where people do that. If you're a imam, or if you're a maulana, or a mullah, or a matawa, or whatever you may be, they look at you with great respect, just how they used to look at teachers with great respect,
Right.
And subhanAllah.
Without doubt, things are changing though, and we've seen more and more disrespect. It's something interesting you mentioned about this coworker, and that they consider him sometimes as just like normal people or cleaners. There was one imam in the States, and I actually saw his conversation with the people from the masjid who are supposedly running the masjid, and I was shocked, man. They were asking him because they wanted to cut some funds, so they're actually asking him to clean the masjid. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of blessing and ajr in cleaning the masjid.
Of course, yeah.
Right, a lot of blessing, and this is one of the things that, mashallah, we know there's a woman who used to clean the masjid at the time of Prophet, and she died, and he was very affected by it, and he went and prayed upon her. But the fact was that the way they asked him, kind of like, do it, like it's like you're just our toy, our employee, just do it. And he said, with all due respect, I believe that the position of the imam in the community and what people are coming, the issues that are coming with, this is going to, in their eyes, is going to look bad, right? So he's using some hikmah. The guy started, he's like, we made you who you are, and who do you think you are? And they start swearing at him, subhanAllah. I saw the text message, I was shocked, that the people are treating a person of knowledge, a real person of knowledge, in this kind of, context. I was like, man, subhanAllah. So that respect for ilm is being replaced with respect for, and we're not putting down secular knowledge or standard education and so on. That's not what we're doing. However, one of them is mubah. It's just general. If you have intention to do it for the sake of Allah, you can get rewarded for even. But the other one is the knowledge that will get you into Jannah and will keep you away from Jahannam. And it's like, well, which one is more important? I'm not saying put the other one, because there's some people that, no, don't take knowledge, I'm not saying that. People should not misunderstand it. What we're saying is that what's a priority and what's more important. And at the end of the day, your PhD and your master's degree will not get you into Jannah. That's just the fact. And your ilm of Islam, inshallah, will get you into Jannah. So again, it's like an issue of iman and how we have reached, in today. I believe we have a...
Yeah, I think we have a phone call, if I'm not mistaken.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Do we have a phone call?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, sister.
I am a Muslim revert.
MashaAllah.
And I have recently got to know somebody who is a revert, and she just became a Muslim maybe about a week ago.
Okay.
My question for you is, she has 2 dogs.
Okay.
And she knows that in Islam it's haram to keep the dogs because she lives in an apartment and she's got these dogs inside the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been watching your programs on Huda TV and Peace TV, and as much as I can, I try to use hikmah on her, and I did not put my foot down and say, no, the dogs have to go. I said, you know that we are not allowed to keep dogs inside the house, and because she's new, I want your opinion on how can I help her with this.
Okay, inshallah.
Subhanallah. Yeah, this is a very complicated issue. Not because we know this is the default that the dogs in the house, right? The angels will not enter. The angels of Rahmah will not enter the house. But because the sister is new, this is, you know, I might need to ask like an actual scholar. So we kind of say that if you can, Dr. Muhammad Salah has a question and answer session on Huda Live, I believe, right? It's called Ask Huda.
I think it was actually, if I'm not mistaken, around this time yesterday.
Yesterday,
it was
so
on, I think.
Wednesday. So you can check the website, huda.tv, and you can see his program. And also, if you can send us a message, we might be able to contact him. You know.
There's also another option, who also sometimes on Huda. You can go to asimalhakim.com and you can post a question there. But I mean, as an advice, I would say, don't put a lot of pressure on her, because even though it's something Islam forbids,
she's new.
She's new, especially she's Muslim for a week.
Yeah.
I mean, she could be Muslim for a year. In my opinion, I wouldn't push her too hard.
Things,
maybe you can let her know, but at the end of the day, it's not something that is a major act of kufr or something that will take her out of Islam. And some people they become Muslim, and there's some things that just take a while to get rid of. Some people listen to music for 6 months or whatever it may be. But I mean, like I said, it's better to get a more comprehensive and knowledgeable answer than us. Would be to go, inshallah.
You had something to add?
I would just say, you know, exactly what you said. When she comes to Islam, the priority is for her to stay on Islam and learn the Tawheed and the Aqidah. And slowly, these acts of fiqh, and you know, they're going to come later on. Especially even, we used to give fatwa in the West that whoever comes to Islam, he should join the prayer in the masjid, but like to be with the community. But he doesn't have to read everything specifically like we do. Al-Fatiha, and you know, if we can teach him Al-Fatiha, that would be enough for his salah. And later on, slowly, he will learn.
It takes time.
Same thing with this sister. And if this is not like an act of kufr or something.
Disobedience.
And her Islam is valid, and you know, so
do you understand, sister?
She's actually gone, I think. But we have another call.
Right.
Okay.
I believe we have a Sister Fatima from Abu Dhabi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Dr. Gabriel, very nice to see you.
I'm not doctor.
I have a question. At times I'm confused that whether I'm committing a sin or not. My son is doing hifz, and at times I feel very happy about it, and I break the news to some people. Then afterwards I regret, I feel guilty that I'm a kind of showing off, and I pray to Allah to forgive me for telling people about it. Am I committing a sin by telling people that my son is going to become Hafiz, he is memorizing the Quran?
Okay, inshallah.
Number one, I'm not a doctor.
Did you understand the question?
Yes. You want to comment, inshallah? She's basically asking whether, if we're not mistakenly, you're telling people that your son is making hifz, and he's memorizing Quran, and sometimes then you feel like, oh, I should have told them, and showing off.
No, subhanallah. You know, Allah said in Surah Al-Duha, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. If my son is going to finish the Quran, my son now is 3 years old, so inshallah, if he finishes the Quran, of course, I would tell the people to encourage them.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Just keep the niyyah sincere. That's it. Just fix the niyyah.
Exactly. Goes back to the niyyah.
وَمَا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ.
And at the same time, it's not an action of mine. So if I am saying I am becoming Hafiz,
right,
the shaitan might use it on me and might change my intention
right,
and make it like as if I'm showing off or make me show off. But when it's someone else, well, you know, the son and the mother,
right.
The mother, of course, her son is like her product kind of thing. But at the same time, I would tell people that.
Yeah, it encourages
and I would
people.
not feel guilty.
It encourages people. And also, subhanAllah, people brag today with so many bad things, right? You want to brag with something, not bragging, but tell people and show them, look, subhanAllah, what's happening. Look what my son is doing. Alhamdulillah. It's like a blessing.
If her son is getting good grades in school, she would say it. And
just keep the niyyah sincere, inshallah.
Yes,
I think we have another phone call from Mecca, mashallah. Aisha from Mecca. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam.
How are you, brothers?
Alhamdulillah.
This I would like to comment, inshallah.
Go ahead.
I'd like, Bismillah, first of all, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And then thank you so much, all of me, Huda TV, the most important channel, especially for our Muslim people. Amazing, mashallah, tabarakallah. Huda is very interesting and very attractive and success video, right? Subhanallah al-Azim. Wallahi, I don't know. I haven't words. It's just, I want to say very appreciate, and I'm very respectful of you. You know, Alhamdulillah, I think as time, know myself, actually changed my life. I'm so happy. Huda is very interested channel, subhanallah. May Allah save all of you. You know, like this mass media have very good advantage, I think, also more around young person. Allahu Akbar. I believe this Huda is brings and knowledge in every home. May Allah protect all of you, inshallah. MashaAllah, please continue. We miss all your programs, so please do not miss your program, inshallah. First of all, Allah, and then all of Huda guiding me this time. Zakir of Allah. And today's topic, I think, knowledge. I haven't knowledge. I need knowledge. So inshallah, this time I take your advice. And jazakumullahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's always very refreshing to hear.
It's kind of emotional.
Because mashallah, it's not even the viewers, but even for us presenting it, we mashallah benefit ourselves.
Yes.
So mashallah, and what the sister said is actually very good, because if you look, in my opinion, at the other stations that are out there in English language, I don't think in reality some may come close, but nobody really compares to Huda TV, mashallah. And saying that, we seem to have another phone call. I think we have another phone call. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, sister.
Okay, can I ask my question now?
Sure.
Okay, the question I have is, can the marriage of a second wife be a reason for divorce in Islam?
Right, okay.
Can the marriage of a second wife be the reason for
Or
divorce?
a woman to divorce her husband in Islam?
Okay, I mean, put it this way, I mean, we're not really, alhamdulillah, we're not really a fatawa show or answering questions.
Even if we know the question, I mean,
even if we know, I mean, the valid answer would really be no, but like I said, we're not going to answer that. For a detailed question, I would firstly recommend checking out some of the websites. If you want something you could find right now, like Islam Q&A, I'm sure they have questions like divorce, second wife, for sure they have many of those kind of questions. Also, like we recommended, you can contact Dr. Muhammad Salah on his show, which I know at least was on last night, Ask Huda. You can also go to asimalhakim.com and post your questions there. Those are ones that I know are actively replying to people's questions, because you know.
And you might want to give more detail about if it's like a personal situation or just a general situation.
And they will give you, they will generally have more detailed answers and much better answers than we could possibly give, inshallah. So, brother, going back to the whole knowledge thing, let me just, if we have time at the break, I mean, I think we're going to have a break coming up very soon, but we talk about knowledge. Now, and we before we went to the break, before Brother Jibul joined us, I mentioned that we'll speak about this later on. When we talked, we spoke about, you know, there is some knowledge that, you know, it's absolutely obligatory for every single Muslim to learn. Like what, for example?
For example, I was born in Islam, or I'm convert. Both of them, I have to learn my salah. I have to learn, before the salah, I have to learn tahara. When Ramadan comes, I have to know how to fast. I cannot say, okay, I will drink water and I will not eat and I will consider this fasting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept. And there is a specific situation that Allah might forgive this person if he's in a specific situation in the books of fiqh, if he's in the desert or he's a new Muslim where there's no Muslims. And it's like, it does not happen usually in nowadays. So in general, we have to learn our daily needs of Islamic fiqh, what we call fiqh, which is the jurisprudence, like
jurisprudence,
the
understanding,
practice, the practice of the deen. After that comes the aqidah. Yani some people, they think that Islam kind of is close to other kind of aqaid, you know, the other religions out there. But Islam is distinguished by, we call it monotheistic faith, that we have to only worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to enter Islam, you have to say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And this is, there's no excuse for any person to not know this kalima. As Allah said in the Quran, Allah ordered us. He said, فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ.
And believe it or not, there are people who don't know this.
That's why I'm saying
we are
this.
Muslims. And I've across upon a community in Romania, in southern Romania, who were Muslim by ethnicity and so on, but they didn't know.
Not only in Romania, even
they didn't know what
in Muslim countries you see
what it is.
Yani Arab countries sometimes you would see some people, they don't know the meaning of La ilaha illallah. And Allah said clearly, this is the only kalima that we have to learn.
Yes.
That's the minimum you can do. And the Prophet ﷺ said that a day will come towards the day of judgment that people will not know anything about their deen except this kalima, La ilaha illallah. So it should be the last thing that people keep in their mind. Yani another word.
SubhanAllah. And on the same topic, there's when it comes to the knowledge that all Muslims should learn. Obviously, also enough Quran to be able to pray with it.
Yes.
Right. This is something very important. That enough Quran to be able to pray with it, which means even some Arabic to the basics, right? Of the even if not being able to read the huruf, but to be able to actually the huruf to be able to actually say it or correctly in just the basics, at least as we know, for the salah to be accepted, al-Fatiha.
There is something called, as you know, the farad.
Sorry to cut you, but we have to take another phone call. Yes, assalamu alaikum. Okay, we lost the phone. If you can call inshallah back. Go ahead.
The fard al-kifaya.
Yes.
There's something called fard al-kifaya. For example, if a whole village, there's no imam, it's fard kifaya. Fard becomes fard on everybody, fard ayn.
Yes.
For everybody to be imam. Until they find someone and they appoint him as imam. Then becomes fard kifaya on him. So that's like knowledge that we have to know. Just like we need the doctor, we need the teacher, we need this. So we need these kind of knowledges in the society. We need a person to teach the Quran, the proper Quran.
Yes. I think we got the phone call again. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
Go ahead. Assalamu alaikum.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it fine for a lady to cover her foot every time?
Can you repeat, please?
Is it fard for a lady to cover her feet every time?
Is it fard for a woman to cover her feet?
Face.
Yes.
For her face.
Feet or face?
Her feet.
Yeah.
When?
Every time, salah, when going out, anytime.
That's a whole
There's hadith about it. The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the women to cover their feet, especially in the salah. Apart from the hands and the face, which there is dispute about it, the rest is awrah.
Yes.
And as you said, we need they can call us huda for further
because like if you're in the house with your husband and family, then it's a different story, right? So it's
because
she said all the time. So it's
no. If she comes out, some sisters that you've seen, nowadays we have different types of shoes and I don't want to go in detail. So it's farad to cover outside
the house,
of course, with non-mahram. The hadith of the face and the hands is sahih.
Okay, I wanted to mention a point. Do we have any more phone calls? I think there was we have another phone call now. Okay, so we have another phone call in the queue. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing, brother?
شيخ كيف حالك؟
الحمد لله.
بارك الله فيك. أخبار أشارك في البرنامج ده.
So I can't hear you. The sound is very muffled. Hello?
Oh, we lost the...
Okay. I wanted to read something actually. On our page, we got one comment from one of the people I see regularly like on the page, Al-Warda Al-Bayda. The first school, Ibn Khaldun states in his Muqaddimah, it should be known that instructing children in the Quran is a symbol of Islam. Muslims have and practice such instruction in all of their cities because it makes the heart firm in belief in Islam and its articles of faith, which are derived from the verses of the Quran and certain prophetic traditions. That was a nice comment I just wanted to share with you.
That's very beautiful. And just maybe to go on another tangent, the issue that when it comes to Islamic education, it's not just imparting knowledge, right? It's a whole comprehensive system which we call tarbiyah, right? And tarbiyah, تربي, it's like a process. Yeah, like you can't really define. You can't translate it. It's a definition. It's a whole. It's to take someone basically and to guide them, to move them through the Islamic knowledge, and at the same time, with the knowledge, the manners and everything that comes with that, and to build an actual person. That's why the person who does it is called the murabbi. And there's a difference between that and just the person who imparts knowledge. But I think we have to take a break right now. Inshallah, we'll come back after this. If you have any more phone calls or comments, inshallah, you can hit us up on Facebook or give us a call.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, He says.
Reading the Quran is a blessing. Understanding its translation is beautiful. But diving in depth and extracting pearls from it is simply amazing. Do they not ponder upon the Quran? Every week, inshallah, we will dig deep and reflect on the verses of the Quran one by one.
Quran in Depth with Sheikh Ibrahim Zaidan, only on Huda TV.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. You're not giving it to him because he has black eyes or blue eyes. You're giving it to him because of his position. And that is why you're giving it to this particular department's head rather than giving it to the HR GM, for example. Nobody gives the HR GM anything because they don't want anything from him until they want a job. Therefore, this is the way you can judge whether it's a bribe or not. To get into a halal transaction, first of all, the bank or the financial institution should acquire and own this apartment before any commitment.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, He says.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back. And we're having an excellent discussion on the topic of education. This is kind of, I think, like second or third episode in this on this topic, alhamdulillah. And we're talking about tarbiyah specifically, and how it's different from just imparting knowledge and so on. And I think this is what's lacking in the ummah today. Of course, alhamdulillah. And I think we'll try to finish, inshallah, with giving some advice to the viewers on how to be able to access some knowledge today in the 21st century through many different means, and it's quite easy these days. But at the same time, this easiness, and I know, as you mentioned, the trials and tribulation of Imam Ahmad, Imam Bukhari, for example, what they had to go through, and how much sleep they gave up, and food, and so on. Today, it seems that knowledge is easy, it's like at the tip of the fingers. You can just type something, and you have, mashallah, like something like Maktaba Shamila, the program where you can just type in an ayah, and you'll get all the tafsir on that ayah from all the scholars, and the linguistic, the al-i'rab, and everything for the word, and analysis, and everything, subhanAllah, all on some kind of you can call this small box, that's sitting on top of your desk. Yeah, ilm box, right? So, really, knowledge has become very easy. But at the same time, maybe people have taken it very lightly when it's so easy because they don't feel the value. and at the same time it's just there, so a lot of people don't have that connection to the scholars. And some people are even saying, you know what, let's move away from the scholars, we can learn ourselves, or we can just kind of do like, some kind of classes, which is, it's something totally, wrong.
And that's what, it's a good thing you mentioned that, because we had Brother Abdul Mateen, who we're very familiar with. Where's his comment gone? He basically left a comment, which I'm trying to find, but his basic comment was, is it good enough to learn by internet? Should we, I'll get it for you now. Are courses from the internet as good as learning from a sheikh? And are traditional halaqas better or systemized and organized college-style Islamic degrees? So he's saying, is the internet okay, or should it be a sheikh? Should it be a halaqa, or should it be an organized Islamic university? And I put that to Brother Muhammad simply because you've had centers that kind of cover these kind of things.
To come to the result, if we talk about the ilm, the most blessed ones that we have seen out of experience is the ones that, as we said, humbles themselves down and put their knees in front of the scholars. And in Mecca or Medina or Cairo, whatever. Because to the fact that this is a knowledge of, you are taking it on the intention to use it for worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty. And it's not the knowledge that you intend to seek rizq or seek dunya with it. Like the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith that من طلب العلم ليجاري العلماء أو ليماري الجهال أدخله الله النار. Whoever seeks knowledge to compete with the scholars or to debate with ignorant, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make him Allah will enter him a hellfire. So first thing is intention. Number one is intention and taqwa, as we said before. When you have this ikhlas and that you're seeking knowledge for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tajarrud, like your heart is purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will give you the knowledge. This is number one. Because when you go to university, you're going for dunya and to seek knowledge of something going to give you position in the future. But when you seek the knowledge of Islam, is purely for the sake of Allah, as the hadith of Hudayfa radiallahu anh, من سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له طريقا إلى الجنة. You're going to Jannah. Take as if you're taking your car and you're going the highway to the Jannah. So you don't need to lose a tire or something on the way. You have to go straight, so you have to keep the intention. And those are like the road bumps, You have to keep your intention pure. You have to wake up in the night. Some of the scholars, they used to say, sometimes you have to study throughout the night.
And this was the trait of a lot of the scholars.
وصل الليل بالنهار. They say it, you have to join the night with the morning, the evening with the next day.
Sorry to interrupt you. We have Farida from Sudan. Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام شيخ إسماعيل. السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام
ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Go ahead.
I want you to talk about your program. I like it. And I see you in my dream. Ruya. After 2 years. 2 years ago. 2 years ago. I'm not know you this time, but when I saw the TV, I remember you are familiar. I remember you, but I'm not. I'm not know what I will say, but
Barakallah fiqh. Thank you so much. I think she said that she saw us in a dream, from what I understand, right? Like a ru'ya.
I'm not quite sure. I think that's what she was saying.
She was saying she saw a ru'ya.
It was not clear for me.
like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, something along those lines. But I'm not. I thought it was about us or about the show. I'm not quite sure. But
yeah, about
that
the
seems,
show.
mashallah, generally to be a nice dream, whatever the case. Mashallah.
Mashallah.
Subhanallah.
May Allah bless you, sister. May Allah bless you, inshallah, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept you.
We have another comment from your neck of the woods, from your side of the town, from your hood, Muslimani, Romania.
Oh, mashallah.
Had to build up to it, you see. She says, Jazakum Allahu khairan for this episode. I have only to add a few things this is a very good point actually, and we can have a whole episode, maybe we will do next week on this, but she said, we have to teach our children to develop confidence and good character. This goes hand in hand with teaching them to pray, fast and so on. Very important. I mean, Brother Muhammad, we're talking about that on the way, the important emphasis on akhlaq, and I think we should, I don't think we have done that, we should do a whole show on that, because we know Prophet ﷺ said there's nothing heavy on the scales on Yawm al-Qiyamah apart from good character, and we see people, all kinds, sometimes we see people who are da'is, and giving Friday khutbas and all kinds of stuff, and they're more well known to have bad manners than they are to give da'wah.
This is something important. The Prophet said, إِنَّمَا خِيَارَكُمْ أَحَسِنُكُمْ أَخْلَاقًا. And the best amongst you, indeed, the best amongst you are those who حَسِنُكُمْ أَخْلَاقًا. And the best in good manners. And this is going back to the initial question of how to study Abdul Mateen.
Advice, yeah.
Again, from proper experience, that's the one thing, because I've studied through a university way and through sitting with the Sheikh, and I felt that the most I benefited was sitting down.
Yes. Definitely, I was going to say the same thing.
Just because going back to the akhlaq, you see how is he sitting, how is he eating, how does he smile, how does he look, how does he turn. Like you can't help it, but you will learn it. At the beginning, you might not notice it, but slowly, interacting with this person, you will notice how do they plan their day, how do they speak. What happens if their phone rings? So many things, subhanAllah, that you will not be able to get just out of a class, we're not putting down the classes on the internet, just saying from personal experience and so on, that subhanAllah, there's so much that you learn just from their body language, subhanAllah, the way, eating with them. Yeah. It's just very more comprehensive, and I think that sometimes these and again, I'm studying even through the internet, and I'm not saying that this is wrong. But that it lacks. It's not like that.
Sometimes if it comes that the only choice you have is the internet, then because some Muslims, they didn't have access for anything. In Andalusia, for example, or other places in the history, if it comes to that way, then it's fine. But if you have the choice, I would say, come to a Muslim country, study with the Sheikh. And I'm not saying drop university or don't do this kind of way. But at the same time, if you have the option of studying with the Sheikh, this is the best way.
And the beautiful thing about that, just to solidify this way, is that Islam, there's a sanad, a chain that the ilm was passed through, be it the Quran, the hadith, the hikmah, whatever it comes with it. And that's the beautiful thing with, that it's like a fortress around the ilm of Islam, guarding it. That this Sheikh took it from Fulan Sheikh, from Fulan, from Abdullah ibn Umar or something, from the Prophet. I mean, that's the beautiful thing.
It's the amazing thing about Islam.
There's that. And sometimes they actually have like the certificate like memorized or written down, and you can like trace, the lineage, and subhanAllah. So that's something that is, I say, not just a proof for Islam and guarding the knowledge, but it's something so beautiful that is no one can separate it from the tradition of Islam. And it's something that, from my studies of comparative religion, no religion has it.
Yes.
No religion has this concept of isnad, and even historically speaking, there's even historical events. There's things when you come, like for example, certain hadith, mutawatir, and so on. I mean, this is something that historians themselves are saying that this level of authenticity is at the top, and no one can doubt it.
And you remind me of something which is kind of off the topic but related, is that when you mentioned the knowledge and the isnad and the chains of narration, it reminded me of the fact that even the knowledge which is taught around the world now, the bachelors, if you trace the meaning of this bachelors, it came back in the the first universities, the Muslims were the first to do universities, and there was one in Morocco, and the students of hadith there, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of years ago, way before it was even thought of having certificates in Rome and in Greece and what have you, and when the student would memorize a certain amount of hadith, they would be given this ijazah on paper, and it would say bilhaq riwayah, on authority, by the permission of, or on the authority of narrating, meaning that he's memorized the hadith and he can narrate them by heart. So he was given this bihaq riwayah. This later became Latinized to baccalaureus, and then into English bachelors. So even the fund, apart from the fact that universities came from Muslim, but even the certificate that all these bachelors of science, bachelors, is going back to the Islamic study of hadith that was given as an ijazah by the sheikh to the students.
Actually, there's hadith that says exactly this meaning that Brother Jibril started. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith, يأخذ هذا العلم عن كل سلف عدوله. And this ilm would take it from the people of ilm, people that are same level, or like they have the amana, the trustworthiness, they're udul, justice. So ينفون عنه تحريف الغالين. They would remove from the ilm the extremism or the people who try to add into it. وتأويل المبطلين, and like some people that try to divert the meaning of the ilm. So this is just to keep the sanad again, to keep the accuracy of what the Prophet ﷺ said 1400 years ago is exactly now what we are memorizing now.
I was just to end, subhanAllah, I was actually going through a tafsir of one of the scholars of India today, and he wrote a comprehensive tafsir which deals with refuting the Orientalists and Christians.
Yes.
And one of he was citing in his introduction statements from Orientalists who they themselves, they might not believe that the Quran is the word of Allah, but they said that without a doubt this is the most authentic document that we have today, and without a doubt this is from what Prophet Muhammad Anyway, another amazing discussion, another amazing episode, and we just ran out of time again, and subhanAllah, time just flies when you're enjoying such a fruitful discussion with mashallah, so many benefits and amazing phone calls and comments from our viewers. But inshallah we will see you next Thursday, same time, same place, with inshallah we'll try to get you another amazing guest and another amazing topic. This is your host Gabriel Al-Romaani and your host
Ismail Bullock.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says, all who spend in good cause. Good deeds are opportunities, sparkling bright and true, raising you in the sight of Allah and adorning Al-Jannah for you. So rush to earn his reward. Don't forget the oppressed.